All right, welcome everybody to this morning, Saturday morning coffee with DTS, Coffee with Paul. Hope you got your coffee. We should be out of here in about 30 minutes. I did not have this meeting scheduled originally. I just kind of threw it up there a couple days ago. And it was mostly because I wanted to explain something that I think is a really, really huge topic. It was a big enough topic. I sent out an educational email about it to all the members, to everybody. And I got some questions back. I don't want to say blowback, but I got some questions back. I was very careful how I phrased it, and yet I guess I have to say that I failed to communicate my concept properly. I thought I did a great job, and maybe some of you did, but I didn't get across to at least a couple handfuls of people, so I wanted to explain it. This is the email I'm talking about here. It was an educational email, went out to all members, blah, blah, blah. And let me actually, I didn't want to put it all here on these slides. I just made a half dozen slides to make this point I wanted to. So let me just pull it up here on the camera. There it is, works flawlessly. And it was about strategy, entry, trading versus futures. There's a little educational lesson here I want to get across about the difference in my mind between just having a strategy and having a tool belt of entries that complement a strategy. But that's not what I want to talk today about. That I think everybody was fine. What I want to talk today about was the concept of futures in general. I did this email to start off saying right there, I like trading futures myself. And to exemplify that, I said here, yesterday I did a trade on the futures, and I like it. And the reason I did the trade on the futures is because I felt it was just compelling. It was just one of those times you look around and you say, boy, I'm looking at all these stocks, but you know what? I know exactly what the market's going to do here. So you just do the market. Why go for an alternative if you got it? But I've said to you before, I don't think I can make a living trading futures. I'm not going to ask you why. I think some of you know why, but I want to explain why. It's just clear straight through for those of you who didn't get it, that you can understand it better. The reason is because I am not patient enough. Now, I'm going to guess I'm more patient than 95% of you. I'm sure some of you blow me away, but I'm probably more patient than the average person listening to me. And I'm not patient enough to trade futures. Now, you say, what do you mean you're not patient enough? Well, my problem is that futures is one thing. It is, here is a chart, here's the futures. Now, again, I explain in here why I show the QQQ. It doesn't matter. It's the exact same chart. It's just that when you actually go to make the trade, I don't know anybody that trade the QQQ is really expensive. If you don't have futures for some reason, there's double and triple levered QQQ or double and triple leveraged SPY that you can trade as ETFs, or you can trade the futures, obviously, which requires very little capital. So it's really nice. And there's other advantages. And like I said, I love doing it myself. But here's the thing. If you're trading the futures, you're trading the market. That's it, and there's nothing else. And there is like a setup that happens. Whatever time frame you're on, there's going to be a limited number of setups. And even if you're on a small time frame, some people will argue, well, I'm trading a 5-minute chart, so there's lots of setups. But if you're not sure where the market is going that day, this is a real question for you guys. If you don't even know where the market's going that day, if it's a confusing day, does it help to say that on a 5-minute chart I have multiple possible entries? Is that helpful? You're right. If you're lost, you're lost. I understand if you want to trade a 15-minute and hourly chart, there's kind of one shot you're going to have that day, right? Even if you know what's going on. You may say, boy, on this rally, I want to get short, and the rally may come up just a little bit short of where you want to be, right? And then roll over and you miss it. And if you miss it, you miss it. You're done. That's it. And then you can say, okay, I'll be on a 5-minute chart. Okay, well, maybe if you know you're going to have a big move and you missed the original entry, maybe you could grab a second entry. I see that sometimes. But on days where the market is just, and there's a lot of days where I say to the room, okay, market is just a mess today. Let's not worry about it, right? But if you're trading the futures, guess what? You have two choices. Go sit out for the day, or what's the other choice, everybody? If the market's a mess, you don't even really have a clue where it's going, you have no focal areas, and you don't want to sit out, what's your other choice? Yeah, take crappy trades. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do. And that's even what I would do too. That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by I don't have the patience. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Now, in going down the email, I mean, that was, you guys have this email, so I don't have to read through it all. I was just seeing if I had any other points here I want to say. And I mentioned here's the first futures trade I did in the month. Now, if I had to trade this futures, I'm sure I'd find more trades than that. There are a lot of times I kind of knew where the market was going. But when I see where the market's going, I feel I get an edge by trading stocks. I'm going to show you why with some chart examples in just a second here. Yes, there's chart examples today. I don't want you guys to fall asleep even though you're drinking coffee. So the next little blowback thing I got was, well, Paul, there's not just futures for the market. There's futures on oil and cotton and blah, blah, blah. I know, I understand that. But what I'm failing to get across is the fact that if I pull up the futures for cotton, it's the futures for cotton, right? If I'm trading the futures for cotton, does it help me to look at the futures for the market? Is there some correlation between the two where I can get an edge, everybody? I've never traded cotton in my life. I don't even know what the symbol is. But is there some relationship between cotton and the stock market where I could say, boy, here's the cotton chart, but boy, I have a real edge here because the market's doing, yeah, no, there's nothing at all. The same thing with oil. The same with oil and gold. I mean, some of you may think, that there is no relationship between oil, gold, and the stock market. I follow them every single day. There's no relationship. They're not opposite. They're not sympathetic. They're just doing their own thing. So yeah, you can pull up gold futures. Great. There's a gold futures chart. Okay. And I understand you have multiple individual things. But what you don't have, a parent being, if you will, called the market, with all these little siblings underneath it, called stocks. And sometimes these stocks are deviant stocks. They don't do what they're supposed to do. Just that English wording, does that get across what I'm trying to say? Because several of you wrote back about this. First thing some people say is, oh, Paul, trading futures is great. I know it is. I like it. I'm just saying, and some of you are making your living doing that. That's fantastic. I said in the email, if you're making your living trading futures, congratulations. Hats off to you. And I mean that seriously. That's great. I'm just explaining what I think I'm talking to 95% of the people. If you're doing it and you're successful, great. That's wonderful. Now, this is a funny story, Chuck. Is he here? No. There's a person that came to the last presentation I did, and he said hi to you guys. He said hi to all of you. And he was a former student of mine. And I signed up at DTS, but, this is from like years back. And he's a big fan of mine, loves me. He trades Forex. He learned from me, studied from me. And again, I don't care what you trade because what I teach applies to futures. Is Glenn here? Glenn's here. He is in my classes every time, and are you here, Glenn? And you do all futures, right? He does all futures, right? And you're a futures trader. So I don't care what you trade personally. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just here to try and help you guys to sort through it because I've been through this stuff. So this guy who was a former student of mine, after the seminar, emailed me to say hi because we hadn't talked in a while. We talk on the phone once in a while, and he said, "You know what I'm doing, Paul?" I said, "What?" I said, "Well, I'm doing great at Forex." He trades Forex only, and he said, been doing great at Forex, but you know what I decided to do? I decided to mix in some stocks. I said, really? Why are you doing that? He said, well, sometimes it's just hard to find a trade in the Forex. And I sit there all day and I get bored. I started cracking up. I go, well, okay, why are you telling me this? Obviously, you've heard me talk about this. He goes, no, he said, I have to apologize. I haven't really tuned into your stuff. I said I get your emails, but I haven't really, that presentation last week was the first time I was in for a while. I started cracking up. I said, well, this is like one of the things I was just talking about, just exactly is that, yes, Forex, you have a half dozen pairs you can look at, but guess what? It's a half dozen pairs. You just don't have that interrelationship that gives you an edge, so to speak. Now, again, if you trade futures, that's fantastic. I just think there's a whole bunch of you out there that are on the edge. Now, there's also a video on the website if you want to hear more about this too, because I'm going to move on to some examples to show you what I'm talking about. But on the free stuff page here under the for newbies section, it says what to trade. And I do a nice example of going through all the things you can trade and the advantages and disadvantages, very objective way. And there's some nice advantages to futures. But let me show you. Let me go back then. Is there anything else on here? And it talks about entries. So let me go back to the slides here. And I pulled 3 trades I want to show you as an example here. And this was the last 3 days of trading. No, I think I left Wednesday off because Wednesday was nothing. I had like 3 break-even trades, but all the rest of the days are really good trading. I want to show you an example from each day. Here's HPQ. Now I just captured the 5-minute chart here. I'm not into a discussion about exactly all the strategy, and the HPQ had gapped down. And this was a short that I did. Where's my little drawing tools here? And you can see the numbers off to the right here if you care, but just generally speaking, I shorted it up in here. And I want you to see the difference. So if you're trading the market, right, and let's say you thought the market was lower, well, You could have made some money there, but here's what the market did then after that, right? So I thought HPQ was lower, and notice the quasi relationship with the market. The market kind of like it's dragging a huge 2,000 ton safe around, right? It's like it's dragging the safe around. The market rallied to a new high and it dragged this stock up. But since this is a stock that had gapped down, you don't see here, but it gapped down. So since I had a bearish bias on the stock, I used the market tugging this stock up for my entry. And then notice the difference. While the market pulls back, makes a higher low and takes off, my stock pulls back and could care less. Do you see that difference, the edge that you have there? To me, it's a huge edge. Now, maybe you don't fully understand it if you're not trained the way I do this or whatever. And I'm not saying it's all you look to, but it's that extra edge that to me is so helpful. There's so many times where, well, I think there's a chart coming up as an example of this. Yeah, there is. I'll wait till I get to it. So number one, if you're wrong, maybe your stock works anyhow. Look at this. Look what, and these are lined up vertically perfectly, right? So you can kind of see here, the market went to a new high. If I can draw it, that new high in the market just dragged my stock off of the new low, and I'm short. So this is good, right? So the market pulling back that little bit, a bullish pullback, collapsed my stock, huge money, and the rally back up. And actually re-shorted this here. I only made a little bit on that trade there, but I didn't really enter that well, and I was kind of chicken with it. But that's the advantage I want to show you. So in the day before, here's another one. So is that the right symbol? It's OKTA. I put it wrong up here. It's OKTA. CK, whatever. It's OKTA. Now, this one's going to probably crack you up, right? You think, wow, Paul, you must have made a killing on this one. Well, I did. I did make a killing. You know where I did, though? I shorted this from here to here. Now, again, you may say, well, why would you short that when it went up that much? Well, you know why? I didn't know it was going up that much. See, again, strategically, in my mind, where this gap to, very, very good odds that if it rallied up to here, it would roll over. How far would it roll over? I don't know. Now, I want you to notice, see, it's not a matter always of trying to find the huge move. That's nice. But most people that find huge moves, what do they do with them anyhow? What do most people do when you get a huge move? Yeah, take 10% of it and say thanks a lot. See, you can make just as much money if you have some precision. So I didn't know if the stock would rally or not. It did. I never played it long because I didn't know if it would go higher. What I did know was I felt very confident that if it rallied to here, it would drop. And because of the precision, you can see this made twice as much as the last trade, right? So again, what happens here? I'm not sure, the market helped this one or not. I had a very bearish view of the market that morning. That's the morning some news came out and the market did puke, but the puke actually, at that point, that became a bullish bias. So again, the precision, timing it with the market, reversal times, these are all things to me that give you big odds. So here's Xilinx. Now, was that Diego? Plus, we never, if the market stopped going, move that. Right, Diego. See, that's exactly what I talked about here. At least I think I read it really quick. Here's the thing here. Right, and that's exactly my point on this slide here, Diego, is that I had a really bearish bias on the market this day, but I had no clue where it was going to roll over necessarily. It was kind of, just this broad general area, right? And the point is that, if you start shorting this too early in here, you may have gotten in trouble, may have stopped out a few times. Xilinx, the stock I wanted to short, never went anywhere. You know what I mean? You never would have been in trouble really with this thing. And of course, as the market rolls, Xilinx collapses. So what I like to do is I do a full market prep every morning, and I look at the market as if I was going to trade the futures. Well, you guys know I write a letter, and in the letter it specifically says, here's how to trade the market today. Here's the area you'd want to short, here's if you want to go long, or sit on your hands today is garbage. So I prepare for the day like I'm going to trade the market. But then when I go to trade the market, what I typically do is I find a weak stock. Because if I am wrong and the market keeps going higher, you know what happens half the time? My weak stock doesn't go higher because it's weak. And it saves the trade, so to speak, right? And if I am right, oftentimes the stock will drop more than the market does, at least certainly proportionally, because I oftentimes can have a much closer, tighter focal area when I'm looking at the stock. Okay, See, if I'm just looking at the futures or oil futures, what do I look at to say, give me an edge? What? What do I look at? I don't know. It's just there's a chart. I understand chart. I understand technical analysis. There's a lot of days things line up good, but every single day I find opportunities in the market. And what somebody came back to me and said was, well, Paul, with the market, all the stocks, they all kind of follow the market, so you don't have any edge. And that's what you're missing the point on. You're missing the point that no, they don't all follow the market. It's those redheaded stepchildren. I'm not sure I can say that these days, but it's those redheaded stepchildren, the deviants, that give us the edge, so to speak, to say this stock is getting pounded. Now, when the market rallies, okay, the pounding lets up a little bit, but then when the market starts to sell, it gets pounded. So, I mean, to just kind of, I think you get the point. But, if you have a weak stock, if you have a weak stock down here and the market starts to rally, maybe the market rallies and your stock just rallies like that. And the market pulls back and your stock collapses. That's where you get that edge. Because it gives you, I call it padding if you're wrong. So that's the whole point of what I was going through here. Now, the bottom line then I talked about, and this is point number 2 that I wanted to clear up. There is a terrible stat out there from people in the brokerage industry, which is that some 95% of futures accounts that are $5,000, or I think the number was $7,000, I'm not sure, that they never make money. And I know why. It's because a lot of people who are trading futures of small accounts, it's not because it's what they choose to do, it's what they have to do. Because you were trading stocks, you're under 25K, you can't day trade stocks anymore, so you say, okay, futures are Forex, right? And I'm not knocking that totally. It's okay if you understand what you're doing. But a lot of times people, instead of getting an education what they want to do, or just understanding, forget about how you learn it, it's just understanding what you want to do, they do what they're forced to do. And these accounts, they run dry, they get replenished for another 5,000, get replenished, and the people are done. And that happens to the vast majority of accounts. So all I want to do is just give you a heads up. I mean, if that is you, be aware of that. Now maybe, you want to get the practice. Trading futures can give you some practice or whatever. But you're not going to learn to trade by blowing through 2 or 3 futures accounts. You're just going to be frustrated. So what I said in there was, I mean, there is a way also that you can trade stocks if you don't have the money, and it's through the prop thing that I talked about. Now, I just want to quickly hit on that because there were some misconceptions about that too, before I put that slide up. Again, this is a service for people. I don't care if you do this or not. It doesn't matter at all to me. I'm not part of this company. It's a company. I've known the people for a long time. I've vetted them, and there's some great advantages. Now, when I started talking about prop, here's the questions I get back. So let me answer these questions for you. Some of you don't know prop at all. And what prop does, it's short for proprietary trading. And bottom line, it allows you to put up a small amount of money, $5,000 typically. And you can then trade with $50,000 of capital as a day trader, but just like a day trader would, nothing different at all. You wouldn't even know the difference. Because what happens is you're trading somebody else's larger account that a lot of people are trading from. Now, so that's the bottom line if you don't know prop. If you do know prop, here's the questions people start asking me. What are the levels and how easy is it to get through the levels? Right? Okay, there are no levels. Those of you that do know prop, there's some kind of bad things out there about it. Can you make it through the levels? You don't have to make it through the levels. There are no levels. How long do you have to do the prop program before you're trading? Instantly. There is no waiting time. Can I get help passing the test? There are no tests. Bottom line, is my money safe in offshore money? There's no offshore. Your money is FDIC approved. I would never recommend some of these other programs that are, they're not necessarily shady. I mean, they're legit, but they may have concerns for people. This is just very simply, if you want to do this, you contact the people, you set up an account. After you fill out the paperwork, 24 to 48 hours, you're trading, period. That's all there is to it. You the negatives are you keep 95% of your money. You're giving back some of your profit if you have profit, of course. And also, the commission structure is not going to be the cheapest you can find, especially today since some places just went free. There is a software fee and commissions, and I want you to talk to the people about that because it may vary if you're going to be trading tons and tons of shares, and or if you really have a profitable record, you could show them you could work that down. But what I want to point out to people is that if you have an account and you have money, this is not for you. Not likely. This is for somebody who doesn't have the money to day trade, either because you ran below the amount or possibly you just have all your money tied up in longer term stuff and you don't want to pull it out. And rather than pull it out, you do this. Now they're still going to have commissions, of course. They're fair based on normal stuff, and there's going to be a platform fee. But keep in mind, if you're giving them $10,000, I mean, they're not giving you $90,000, but you have the right to trade $90,000, and that's worth a lot of money. And when you look at the fees, it's nothing. So if it's something that you need, it's tremendously worth it. If you don't need it though, that's somebody say, well, I'm going to keep my $100,000 account at TradeStation. Well, okay, yeah, you shouldn't even be looking at this. But the other person may want to do this too is you may have $40,000 or $50,000, but maybe you want to be trading $500,000 in stock. And that's not really crazy. It's really a good way to trade is by trading stocks like Bank of America that trade a bazillion shares a day, and you take 10, 15,000 shares going for 5, 6, 7 cents profit at a time. That's also a very good way to do things. So those are the options and possibilities for that. And this is something, if you're interested in doing this, you email me. I'll send you the information, and then you talk to them. Okay. And for those of you that do want to, because I thought it would be a great combination for somebody learning to trade, is to take my seminar program and get signed up at Prop. There's a little combination thing. It's not any huge deal, but it's a decent deal to get going. And then once you're set up with the account, you can add whatever you want to that and get 10-to-1 leverage back on your money. Okay. So that was that whole kind of email where I just got so many questions. I wanted to make it clear exactly what's going on. All right. That is what I had to say today, and it's 28 minutes. I did finish in a half hour. So let me ask you, number one, do you have any questions about the topic I talked about in terms of, stocks, futures, just a concept why I think there's an edge in stocks, number one, or number two, any questions about for those of you that may be interested in prop? There's some people here that are on the prop thing. I've got nothing but good comments about it. If it's what you need to do, it's been a very good thing. And then let me ask you three, if there's no questions about anything I've talked about, do you have questions about anything else you want to go into? So, the whole first part, if you tune in late, is just very simply, hey, there's a million ways to make money out there, and I'm all for any of them. I'm not somebody who's sitting here saying you got to do it this way. I'm just somebody here. I know a lot of you are, trying to make it through and just learning on your own, and I'm just trying to give you all the helpful advice that I can. I'm just like one of you. I was one of you years ago. And there are things that I think give me huge advantages. And like I said, I would have a hard time if you told me I could only trade futures. And I think, I'm probably more patient than the average person listening to me. So I just want you to be aware of it. And maybe it's something you say, okay, I'm aware of it, but I'm going to keep going. But just keep that in mind. There's those advantages. There's stocks. Every day I come to the market with a list of daily stocks that are interesting, hourly stocks that are interesting, and stocks that have gapped that day that are interesting. And between those, I always end up with, anywhere from 2 to 10 stocks that I look at the open that I think that I have a special edge on because I know where they're going. And then I try and time that with whatever market concept I have. Oh, you're on an iPad, no wonder. You're lucky you even got into this place. I see some people typing. I'll give you guys a second here. We're way early, so don't feel bad. You're not holding anybody up. Anybody can leave that wants to leave. In regards to the platform, can you do keyboard commands? Oh yeah, there's definitely shortcut keys for trading, Diego. Yeah, I've used the platform before. I don't currently use it. If enough people get on that, I was considering actually doing an account there also just to become more familiar to help people with it, but absolutely have shortcut keys, yeah. It is actually considered one of the top fastest day trading platforms. Jamie, at some point in the future, do you think you'll only do longer term trading? Jamie, I'm always going to get up in the morning and trade the first hour at least. Yeah, probably always. Yeah. Long-term positions doing pretty well. It's been a tricky time if you're doing long-term, because we're in an interesting area here. But be as soon as we figure out where things are going here, it'll be time to get a little more aggressive. Did you trade any stocks long yesterday? Let me think. Yesterday was no, no. I ended up all short yesterday. And it's interesting. I got stuck on one stock. I was above goal yesterday going into Friday for the week. I was above the weekly goal, and then I gave back one yesterday, and it was really because of one stock. I went after TSM and I lost on that. What was interesting was I was making money all short. The market was all up yesterday, and I was all short, and I was making money all day until the end of the day. Just a little bit, but I mean, my point was, rather than having a disastrous day, being completely wrong all day, I was wrong, and yet I was making a little bit of money, except for TSM. I had TSM wrong. I thought just, keep in mind, guys, despite all I'm saying, sometimes you're still wrong. I mean, I don't care what edge you have, what advantage, sometimes you're still wrong. Traded E-mini futures. Oh, there you go, Glenn. Glenn has become the futures expert. Does the prop program apply to international? Lewis, I believe in, again, when I answer your questions, I'm going to caveat everything with please talk to Richard, who's the guy over there, when you email me, to make sure you get the right answers. But I believe you can trade from anywhere. I don't think there's any place excluded, but check with them, okay? Your money is kept in New York, FDIC insured, New York Chase Bank. In this situation where the market is more for short or day trades, long position, but now it does not work, or what is the thought about it? My latest long position on being signed. Well, you're talking about long-term positions? Yeah. Well, Diego, you have to analyze everything. I'm doing long-term positions. I'm nicely green. I have one thing long. I have one stock long. It's been long for 3 weeks. That's ATVI. It hit a target and is doing nice. And then I have three shorts. Just have to know what to trade. Latest long position being stopped. You're talking about long term? Well, Diego, send me a couple of your trades if you want to. Let me look at them. I offer to do that for people. If you send me trades, you want long Twitter? No, that's right. I mean, but if you send me trades, please just send me the stock. Don't send me a chart. Just send me the stock, when you got in, when you got out, what you're trying to do. Most of it is just strategy. I mean, you can find good long positions. You can find. I mean, right now I have good short positions, long term. And the market's not exactly cooperating fully. But the thing is, when you want to short, you got to be smart enough to short when the market hits the top, not wait until the market is so far down that you've given up all your profit. So, to me, we are still in a bearish situation midterm. This 2-day comeback rally, we'll have to see where it goes. It's like I said, it's a difficult time here right now. But whatever time you're in, you can always find good trades, long term, short term, long and or short. Like I said, well, the market is still in bearish mode to me, and that's why I'm focused more on shorts. But you can find unique stuff. So, I think it's just a matter of your individual trade selection, Diego. It's just your individual trades that you're looking at, right? You guys find you're having that problem too? I mean, Diego, keep in mind something as well, that I've said that this area in the market, I think, has been the most difficult to analyze since 2016. I don't say that lightly. Every time, well, you want me to pull up the charts a second here? And I don't say that often, Diego. Every time we've come to a turning point in the last, this is the top. I'm not sure how long you've been following me, Diego, but is there an indicator that shows you the market volatility will die? I took a 15-minute pullback, but it stayed there the whole day. Yes, Diego, you can download the super duper DTS market volatility indicator. It costs $99.95 a month, and I'll send you the credit card form. And you just put that on your screen, and it'll say, "Get out of NVIDIA, volatility is dying." No, there's no such indicator at all. You know that. There's no such indicator at all, period, zero. It doesn't exist. What did you do? You took NVIDIA yesterday on the 15-minute pullback. A nice Spice up, it stayed there the whole day. Well, yeah, I could have told that, Diego. You should know that. Let me ask the room. A lot of people here that know what I teach. If somebody told me they're going long in video yesterday, what would I say? Very simple concept. And Diego, you should know this back from this concept hasn't changed. This is just what would I say about going long? Yeah, but why? What's a specific pattern? Not just a subjective no way. What's the exact pattern? What's the concept that I repeat many times? Well, yeah, I mean, number one, yeah, I could never go long with an hourly chart that looks like that, but after a huge wide bar, 80% of the time, you know what comes next? What follows 80% of the time? What follows a huge wide bar? No, just a little sideways bar. Small range day. Most common thing in the world. Big bar, little bar. And a little bar could be sloppy. You may try to fake above the top, may try and pull back and not go anywhere. But generally speaking, this is exactly what you get. So, that morning, if you would have said going long, I said, well, no, I wouldn't trust that. I mean, I could see shorting the fake pop. I maybe see trying to go long in the shakeout down there, but I mean, you're not going to go anywhere. It's just going to be sideways. Now tomorrow, Diego, is where you come in here and you say, okay, now I have a stall point and I have a chance of making money over that if the market's with me, okay? And you knew that, right? Diego, say yes. You knew that. Yeah. You just, for whatever reason, you weren't structured in thinking when you looked at the chart. You have to be structured. You have to look at a chart and just kind of like a computer, just categorize and say, boom, 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 what is that pattern? Say, okay, it's not for me today. But I'd keep it on the watch list, set up for tomorrow or the next day, could be good. I don't think it's good tomorrow even. I think it's, take another day at least. Keep in mind also, Diego, you're also picking on a stock. While, all this looks really good, if you're trading the hourly chart, you don't want to conflict with the weekly chart. And you're very close to a conflict here. That's a piece of garbage weekly chart near the top, right? So it's, I know you're day trading it. You say weekly is a Paul matter. Well, yes or no? I mean, if people are selling the top on the weekly, you're not going to go anywhere either, right? Well, but T, remember, you know the rules. Even if you're trading the 15-minute chart, so you can come down and say, yeah, I'm on the 15, and even the 15 though has some issues. But if you're trading the 15, what else do you have to have based on what I teach on multiple time frame analysis, right? You have to expect certain things from the time frame above, the time frame above that. That's not there. See, and you know this, right? You guys, you have to really, right? You know this, right? The time frame of reference, even if you drop down to the 15 and say that's what I'm trading, you still have to require certain things from the time frame one above and the time frame two above, and they're not there. So trade could still be negated, right? Just getting odds in your favor is all it is, right? Right, exactly. 60 not in the sweet spot. The daily's not conflicting because it's kind of a breakout sort of. So but yeah, exactly. The 60 would still keep you away from this. Also because of news, what I saw, the strength of it would carry. Because of Diego, boy, did you hit a bad nerve with me. Right, T. That's what tomorrow ends up being. Because of news, what I saw that the strength of it would carry to the next whole number. Okay, there's no such thing as whole numbers, really. I mean, that's an extremely minor concept. And what do you mean the news? Because of what news? The reason it moved up that day? So some news comes out, Diego, right? 220 million people looked and analyzed the news and decided this is where it should be, right? Maybe there's one guy who's on vacation in Jamaica who's not going to find out till tomorrow. So what edge do you have now to say the news? The news is played out. It has a knee-jerk reaction. The world adjusts to it, and now it's a brand new day. Can't tell me about the news now. How about the news from 7 years ago? 7 years ago, NVIDIA invented a new chip. Are you still going to play that news? Or is that too old now? Once news has its pop, it's done. That's it. Knee-jerk reaction. So don't ever tell me about news being a reason you're trading something. You're almost always 100% the wrong side of it if you're trading news. All right. Anyone else? Call it a day. It's 10 to 10. I was done basically at 9:30. Took some questions for 20 minutes. It's a nice Saturday. Again, if you have questions about the prop thing, you got to email me. And any other questions, or like I said, you want to send me a trade to look at, I'm always happy to do that. Just Please don't send charts. I hate when people send me this entire screenshot that's boiled down to a 3 inch by 3 inch thing, and I don't understand what it is. Time for more coffee. All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you guys in the trading room on Monday. Have a good weekend, everybody. Take care.